Long habit. Working on it. So I'd like to call the meeting to order for the Lancaster Homeless Impact Commission. I'd like to do roll call. So,
the roll call.
Perfect. Thank you.
Commissioners Acosta,
Present.
Muhammad, Holly,
Present.
Sarah Saras, Vice Chair Dawson,
Here.
Chair Tremere. We have a quorum.
Okay. So I'd like to invite Pastor Cliff, is it Huffmeyer, to do the invocation.
Hi, good morning. Pastor Cliff is ill, so I'm Pastor Rob filling in for him today. So it's an honor to be here. So thank you for the invitation. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for our brothers and sisters, God, our homeless community, that we are created in your image. Father, I ask for wisdom today on how we can love those that seem unlovely at times. God, I know we are unlovely at times, so I pray, Lord, that there would be no sense of self-righteousness where anyone would feel better than somebody else, because we are all equal. God, thank you for this opportunity to seek how to best love those in our community. God, we don't desire for any to be out cold and homeless and hungry, so we're just asking that you would just direct our path. God, you are a good God. Thank you for the many blessings that you have bestowed upon us. Just food and shelter and love. God, so many times we take those for granted. So God, we ask that we would be able to provide those for those around us. God, thank you for this day. I thank you for this rain, the cleansing that it brings. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Commissioner Holly, would you lead the resolution?
Place your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated.
Thank you. So, are there any of the items in the consent calendar that you would like to pull for discussion? Any approval of the minutes? Was there anything that you guys got and that you want to review? Do you have a copy of the minutes? Okay. Did you guys receive a copy of the minutes via email? Okay. So can we have a vote to approve the minutes?
I vote to approve the minutes.
Buttons. You got yours? Do you approve it? Yes. Okay. Okay, so we have a first and a second approval of the minutes, and then all approved. And then the 2018 Cities Homeless Plan Implementation RFP update.
Yes. Good morning, commissioners. Good morning, community. First, Happy New Year. We're excited to be in 2019. We look forward to this year, and we are off to a good start. We thought that we would take the opportunity today to provide you with an update. In October of 2018, we shared with you kind of the concept and the idea of the City of Lancaster responding to LASA's in conjunction with Home for Goods RFP to allow for cities to go after grant monies to begin implementation of their homelessness plans. We did that. We shared with you in October that was the intention. The applications were due November 7th. We submitted our applications. We fine-tuned the programs and the services that we wanted to submit for the projects that were eligible. And today what we like to do is to review those projects with you so you have an understanding of what the City of Lancaster, in support of the Commission on behalf of implementation of our plan, was submitted. Today, Melissa and Christina are going to provide that presentation update from you, and then we will look to get your feedback. Unfortunately, we do not have the results of the grant submission yet. It was intended that we would have them mid-December, but they received so many projects that was pushed out, and we will have award notification per the county this Friday. So upon that notification, we will certainly let you and the community know. But at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Melissa and Christina to go over the projects that were submitted in detail.
Good morning, Commissioners. It is our pleasure to present before you today. During October's Commission meeting, we introduced to you our plan to submit 4 projects for funding through the 2018 Cities Homelessness Plan Implementation RFP, long name, facilitated by LA County Homeless Initiative and Home for Good Funders Collaborative. These proposed projects would significantly help to mitigate some of the challenges of homelessness in our community. Today, we're going to give you an update of where we are in the process, as well as provide you more details about each project and our final submission to the county. To help combat and prevent homelessness, and to broaden and accelerate the pace of change and accountability, LA County has developed 47 interlocking strategies to combat homelessness through their homeless initiative. These 47 strategies are divided in these key sub-areas. Prevent homelessness has 4 strategies. Subsidized housing has 8. Increase income has 6. Provide case management and services also has 6 strategies. Create coordinated system has 17 strategies, and increase affordable homeless housing has 6. In alignment with these strategies, the Board of Supervisors approved funding for cities in the Los Angeles Continuum of Care to develop city homelessness plans in order to enhance our ability to contribute to the county's regional effort to prevent and combat homelessness. Of the 88 cities, 41 cities submitted homelessness plans, and the city of Lancaster was one of them. The purpose of our homelessness plan was to help us better understand homelessness and provide solutions that best suit our community. The plan is comprehensive, and it contains customized actions and strategies to combat homelessness and strengthen our community. From the plan came 7 key findings. The first finding was that the quality of life for the whole community is integral to addressing homelessness. We also found that a multifaceted, innovative approach is needed to successfully address the issues of homelessness. Also, it was found that there is a need for more affordable housing, as well as a need for improved coordination and performance of services to provided for the homeless. The last 3 findings were that there was a need for more regional mental health and substance abuse services and facilities. There is a need for greater focus on homelessness prevention and stabilization to support families and keep tenants housed. And finally, the community of Lancaster, while very passionate and caring, overwhelmingly believes that homelessness is a serious concern and its impacts increased over the last years. I will now turn the rest of the presentation over to Melissa.
Thank you, Christina. Good morning, Commissioners. As you are aware, the homelessness crisis in the Antelope Valley requires immediate action with a comprehensive approach and lasting results. The Lancaster Community Homelessness Plan provided 7 localized goals: prevention, housing, engagement, public safety, data-driven responsiveness, community vitality, and regional collaboration, as well as multiple strategies to combat homelessness, of which each of these projects address. These projects are an essential step for the implementation of the Lancaster Community Homelessness Plan, and each supports a goal within the plan. Our first project, Family as One Interim Housing Program, supporting the housing goal, looks to introduce a new interim housing model that can be endorsed and supported by the business community and provide an interim housing option for families experiencing homelessness. This program will allow participants up to 3 months of housing, including wraparound services, at no cost as they transition from interim into permanent housing. Our funding request for this project was $300,000. The goal is not to only provide housing, but connect families to whole person care services. Once they have been connected, the direct impact will not only change the perception, but expand the service offerings. Our next program, the Community Ambassador Program, supporting the Community Vitality Goal, which will oversee, manage, and coordinate social outreach support services by connecting people to available resources that will provide assistance, reclaim and increase the use of public spaces by the entire community, and improve the quality of life. The program looks to engage with the homeless community and provide coordinated information regarding programs and services while offering a reassuring presence, responsive hospitality, and customer service for the community. The total funding requested for this program was $130,000. The team of community ambassadors will serve as goodwill representatives for the city, residents, businesses, and visitors, ensuring that positive interactions increase the quality of life in our community. Our next program, Project Good Life, a social enterprise supporting the prevention goal, works directly with the transitional age youth group, our TAY population. This project will pair teaching our youth how to develop a revenue-generating business by manufacturing furniture, as well as provide life skills, workforce training, and employment opportunities to prevent homelessness. The project funding for this program is $110,000. The main goal of the program is to train, equip, certify, and employ our TAY population here in our community. Our fourth and final project, Hospitality Training and Pay Incentive Program, supporting the goal of prevention, is paired with workplace development and training, as well as wage subsidization. This project will partner with hoteliers and the Antelope Valley College to train and certify individuals in the hospitality industry. In addition, this program will competitively offer industry-specific positions with wage subsidy up to $15 an hour for 12 months through the Pay Incentive Program. The total funding request for this project is $60,000. With this program, we look forward to creating a qualified pool of applicants within our community for our TAY population. Each of these projects is a direct reflection of meaningful discussions and collaborations between stakeholders and the community, as they are a valued voice that will be actively engaged prior to and during the implementation process. Should we be awarded the grant, as Toy mentioned, I would be remiss if I did not share our current partners for each project: America's Job Center of California, Antelope Valley College, Comfort Inn and Suites, Destination Lancaster, Holiday Inn Express, the Salvation Army, Street Plus, the Los Angeles County Office of Education, the Los Angeles Children's Project, and Town Place Suites by Marriott. Lastly, I'd like to leave you with a sentiment from LA County that I believe is a good reminder to all of us here today. This crisis did not happen overnight, so it will not be solved overnight. Thank you for your time. If you have any comments or questions, we are available.
I have a question. When we look at these plans, is this including our current service providers for our nonprofit organizations that are currently in the Antelope Valley? Will our homeless plan include a plan to include the current providers that are here providing services? And is there a mental component as well as alcohol and treatment programs being built into this homeless plan?
Yes, so these 4 projects are very distinct and are just a piece of the puzzle, if you
Okay.
will. But yes, the plan, as I believe it was Christina shared, it certainly called out the need for mental health as well as substance abuse. And so, yes, we are having those conversations. We, the city, is also, I believe, as well as the Sheriff's Department, we are part of the larger consortium. And so we have those discussions, and those partners are at the table as well. We are also, the city of Lancaster is a member of the steering committee at large, which is a smaller group of localized nonprofits who will be addressing the issue together. And then the last thing I will add is that Kensington campus, as you know, is currently, we are excited to say that things are coming out of the ground and the buildings are being erected. The people concerned will operate that, and while they are not necessarily what one may consider a local partner, they certainly are a partner of LA County and are familiar with this. My point here is that they will have also mental health and substance abuse offerings at Kensington as well. So it is an integration of all those things coming together, which is why you hear from us, we talk about the whole person care a lot throughout the plan, and that is exactly what it is intended to be. And I would again be remiss too if I didn't mention that the Salvation Army, who is here, is certainly at the table with us as well.
Okay, because there's concern from the community that there's, in moving forward with like this program, without providing the mental help, without providing the other things first, they won't be successful in this project or other projects like that. And it'd be very difficult to take people out of current programs that they're already in and establishing trust relationships that they've already established within their current providers, and getting them to say, if you want to be part of this, you now have to leave this to go to this. So there's a huge concern with the people already in the programs, and they're asking, would that be part of this plan to sever ties with their current providers that they're currently working with in order to participate in the city's program?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not. The intent is to augment, supplement, and bring together. One of the examples I'll give you is, let's say on the Good Life Social Enterprise, all of the partners listed there are working with the population already. And so truly what this does, and we realized it, is that unfortunately sometimes there are silos and sandboxes. What this has allowed us to do is bring everyone to the table who actually is working independently, and now collectively we're at the table.
Okay.
So we're very excited about these projects because there's been a conversation facilitated from our perspective that has not been facilitated in the past.
One of the other concerns, and I don't mean to take up everybody's, and I don't mean to be the question we create. One of the questions and one of the concerns that have been coming up, and it's something that I've kind of realized as well as I've been dealing with the homeless population over the years, there's a concern with the Kensington project, because I've seen it even within the shelters, that there comes to be almost a communal sense of them not moving on from the shelter, this becoming a permanent residence. The public would like to be reassured that this is not going to be something where people come in and this becomes home, that there is actually a plan for them to move on from the shelter to learn how to sustain a normal, healthy life outside of the Kensington project, that there's going to be sustainable resources for them available as they transition into creating their own home with their own families and having the resources available to support them as they do that. A lot of the projects that come up, and a lot of people don't understand with the grant and the fund money, is that once a person enters the system, when that dollar amount is over, that person has reached that goal. They're kind of on their own after that. And so we put people in transitional housing. They go through the emergency shelters, they go through transitional housing, and then when that dollar amount is over, that person's left on their own because they no longer qualify for funding. Is there some reassurance that once somebody enters in that program that there's going to be some follow-up, or have we set in some fail-safes that once they've reached that dollar amount, once they've reached the end of that grant, or once they've reached the end of that program, that we're going to not just say, okay, well, you're up, your money's gone, good luck?
No, certainly. that will not be the case. In February, we are looking to, the people concerned will come here and speak more to that. But what I will share with you now is currently the shelter at Salvation Army, that is a winter shelter. Kensington campus will provide all the wraparound services that come with everything that you mentioned. The case management, the health, the mental health, all of that will be on site with the end goal of having them at that location and moving them on to the next part and learning how to transition into our community.
Okay.
I would just add that Kensington campus, and again, as Melissa responded, February at our meeting, that will be the time where we kind of showcase, if you will, and share kind of the purpose and the intention with Kensington, which is a transition. There's multiple levels of housing at Kensington, and so we'll kind of talk about that too. It also does include permanent supportive housing. It also does have interim housing. So with the progression, that the whole point is progression. And absolutely, you're right. The whole point is to transition out to be a productive and included back into the community. So we will talk about Kensington then, but one of the things that I did want to respond with is that the Salvation Army currently, it was a winter shelter, and it is now operating as a year-round shelter. And so I know a lot of the discussions now have been about trying to do exactly that in terms of, instead of just housing, but adding in some of those components of supportive services. And if Hector wants to add a bit there, he can. But to your point, one of the family plus as one is a good example of what you're talking about. One of the issues that we have heard in the community, like you, is that I'm housed and then what? And this project excites me because it's actually one of the projects that we were able to get the hoteliers to come to the table and say, we want to be a part of the solution, but we want it to look differently. And so this one looks differently than just being housed, because there is a case manager who was assigned, and that case manager is not just for housing, because the housing component would be taken care of. It's all those other things that we know are necessary. And so that one, to be very honest, that is the only reason that we had the partners come to the table, because they said that piece has to be connected in order for it to make sense for the entire community as well as the family. So,
yeah, I would like to add that I think the approach from the very beginning, even the winter shelter, which is it's only designed to provide safe housing, for a temporary season and some basic needs. We looked at it from the very beginning as a stepping stone into the next season. So every program that I'm personally involved in, I'm only interested in if we can design it as a step into the next season. I don't think it does any good to warehouse people. I don't think it does any good to give away stuff for compassion's sake. You have to be going somewhere with it. And so absolutely, that's our posture in this thing is, we're doing this, and then what? Where are we going to bring them from to get them to this step, and where are they going after this step? So we get people thinking along those lines. So I appreciate, the questions and the concerns, but I think some of those can be addressed by the people being involved in those meetings and conversations that are being had, like here or at the coalition, because those are the conversations being had. It's how do we go from, A to Z, and who's going to cover each of those steps, because there is no one agency that can do it. There is no one city that can address it all. It's going to have to be a collaborative, right, effort. So that is the conversation that needs to be had, and I believe we're having it. So, yeah.
Well, first I want to tell you guys are doing a wonderful job, and I'm really impressed with the TAY program and the outreach to the youth. I do want to get a little more clarity on the ambassador program, and more specifically some of the language, reclaim public use. Can you give us a little more information on that? Because my concern is how we're approaching those whom are homeless and may be spending time at places such as the library or wherever they are. Can you give us a little more clarity on that?
Sure. Certainly the word reclaim maybe was not the best word, but Our community ambassadors, much like our Boulevard ambassadors, will show hospitality to these homeless individuals. By Reclaim, you mentioned the library. We're not going into the library to, come on, everybody, get out. That's not what they will be doing. They will go in there and outreach to them. How are you today? And not only outreach, but share with them, there are services. What can I help you with today? It's a hospitality model that we are modeling, much like the Boulevard ambassadors, with, again, the intent being homelessness, addressing them. And by reclaiming our public spaces, parks, libraries, there are places for these individuals to go. We can help them. There are services, as you all mentioned. There's many nonprofits here that are willing to help and available to help. That's where they will be included as well.
The only thing that I would add there is one of our goals is community vitality. And in terms of addressing the public spaces, there are public spaces that we want all of the community to enjoy. Parks, I think, is a good example. And so it's not to say that one is excluded, but it's to ensure that all are included. We have heard from many parents and families who will not frequent parks because of. So what we want to do is create a welcoming atmosphere where those who are there who are in need of help receive those services and that type of interaction, and that it also allows families who want to come and use the public spaces and go to parks to be able to do so as well. So that is the intent behind the community ambassadors. It has absolutely worked on the Boulevard. I believe we shared before that we had 1,500 what I call impressions or interactions between our ambassadors and those who are in need, whether they're homeless individuals or not. And that is all done in conjunction with the patrons who are frequenting the Boulevard as well. So it allows for a communal space to be shared by all and for resources to be provided as well.
Okay, thank you. So I just want to make sure that we're projecting the right image, and sometimes in the language, it could come across as if we're going to be policing. So I just wanted to make sure that we are focusing on hospitality versus policing.
Yes, go ahead.
We will make note of that as well.
One of the concerns that we have, and I know it's a really delicate balance because you want to show everybody compassion and respect, and not telling people they don't have rights because they're homeless. But I can tell you in law enforcement, we deal with a lot of issues of quality of life type kind of issues and a lot of safety concerns. Now, I don't want to vilify the homeless population because I think that's unfair. But you're dealing with a population of people that are a vast spectrum. You're dealing with families. You're dealing with regular people who have come on bad on their luck, to the spectrum of people who are severely mentally ill. And so you run a whole gamut of people, of individuals with their own individual stories, so you can't clump everybody into that. Having said that, we've had issues at the library with you have family story time, you have mommy and me time, where we've had to go in, where we've had people that are, and it's not just homeless, it's just people in general, but we've had specific issues with the homeless population where they've been on the internet with porn all the way up. And because it's a public space, you have the right to view whatever you want on that computer. So that's when we're talking about sharing space, there becomes an opportunity for us as a community where we have to say we have to be responsible in sharing these public spaces. And as an individual, we have to be able to protect the rights of everyone. And so that includes our kids, our families. And so in protecting, there's organizations that say, hey, you know what, we're offering our space to the homeless population to come and be on the computers and being on the internet. And I think that's what the ambassador program is willing to do, is to say, you know what, I realize that you guys need a space to come and to be out of the cold and to be out of the heat and the wind and the elements. We have an organization and we're willing to give you this space in order for you to come just have somewhere to be. Because people don't realize when you're homeless, you don't have anywhere to go. When you come and you're there during the daytime, and then people kind of push you around like you're a piece of trash, like you can't hang out here, you can't hang out there. It's very demeaning, and then eventually, you know, it can play on your psyche. So I think the city is balancing that in a very delicate way and saying, you know what, we want to make sure that families feel comfortable to come to the library, you realize that they're engaging in activities that maybe are not the best for the whole community, but being in a very compassionate way, leading them and directing them to another place where they would be more suited and more welcome. So it is a very delicate balance, and that's why we look to the public and say, if you guys have solutions, if you have suggestions in us for us to find a way, we're open to hearing those. But programs like the Ambassadors Program look at how do we make sure that our, when we're feeding the homeless, that we're not leaving trash everywhere. Again, you think when somebody's fighting for their life and getting fed on the street, trash should not be an issue. But again, you're looking at the overall community. Do you want to live in a community that's full of trash? It's not sanitary, it's not healthy. So again, we're balancing all these delicate issues and trying to find a solution, and we're open to your suggestions, so please filling out these cards.
Thank you.
Okay, so city clerk announcement is next. Or did I want to? Okay, so any speakers on the agenda? So the first speaker card is David Paul. And he would like to speak on agenda item RFP update?
The one we're just talking.
You just talk? Okay, he just wants to talk.
Madam Vice Chair and Commissioners, good morning. The first thing I want to do is say how grateful I am and how impressed I am with the commitment of everybody that's involved in solving this problem. It's intractable. And I would change this. The county's view of it didn't happen overnight and won't be fixed overnight. This is a problem that's never been fixed. So the flip side of that is we're never going to fix it. So that's where that leads you. So please take these comments not as criticism but input. Number one of the goals is to transfer people to permanent housing after all that stuff. There's no permanent housing. There's no permanent housing for people. The Ambassador Program, Commissioner Dawson, building trust. That's what's important. And people get into communities and wherever they're at, and they try and build a sense of space and their place in it, and that's very important. So the Ambassador thing, I love that. The K portion, leading to employment opportunities. There aren't very many good jobs. As far as the hospitality industry goes, and the $15 an hour that gets phased out after a year, I mean, I couldn't own a home and raise a family on $15 an hour. So that's not even enough to actually get you an apartment. So these are things that we have to deal with and be cognizant of and manage more effectively. And the other thing, Lieutenant Acosta, you talk about the services that push people into a better path of life, and I appreciate that. That life is about improvement and contribution and stuff. But there's a whole bunch of people in the world who aren't going to turn themselves into great thinkers or great people or whatever. I drove home the other day down 15th, and there's a woman in the bushes laying there in distress, and some guy is standing there talking to her. Now, he's the ambassador. He's trying to help her out of whatever that immediate dilemma is, but this woman, my opinion is not going, maybe if she had an opportunity and a scholarship and a place to live, she could go to college and get a degree, but it just doesn't seem like that's going to be the outcome for her. So I always start with, we need a safe place for people to go. We need secured parking for people that live in their car like they do in other places, and we need to open up to the fact that we're going to have some place where people can go and camp and not be harassed. My heart goes out when it rains and it's cold and I take my dog out and I'm shivering and I go, how about these poor people out sleeping in this? So if they had a tent and a whatever, I mean, that's what would be good, if we could find just a place for these people to lay their head down at night
have that stability. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Next, we have Nick Matthews. And Nick, if you have any non-specific item that you want to speak on?
Good morning. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I wanted to touch on a few things. Collaboration seems to be a real strong need, and we have that. We've mentioned that. The city has mentioned that in their RFP update. And I want to stress that as we go forward. You know, CES is a system. Valley Oasis is taking the lead on that system. But the system doesn't work unless we all collaborate together. And so I really want to, stress that very, very hard, because, we need that level of collaboration. And with the ambassadors coming online, I would like to extend the offer again that, we would like to work with you guys. I'm the Director of Outreach and Engagement Services, and I'm trying to coordinate all the outreach teams. And the ambassadors program is another outreach team. It's a city-funded outreach team. So I would really like to get you guys, part of our outreach meetings, if possible, to move forward with that. The other day, Hector had mentioned that there's now services in Palmdale for the Access Center. And, getting that information yesterday, was very, very helpful, and I appreciate that. So the more we talk and find out what's going on, the better we're able to serve our community. And one of the other things that I wanted to mention out today, too, is another plug for the homeless count. It is coming on the 24th at 6 in the morning. And it's a point for us to go out and really try to see what we've done for our community as far as, helping end the homeless problem that we have, and seeing, where people are and what we can do to help them. So those are my 2 points, and I thank you guys.
Next is Sarah Odom, and she would like to speak on a non-agenda item. Hi, Sarah.
Good morning. Okay, so I'm Sarah Odom. I'm starting my own initiative project to, aid the homeless problem. Because just recently, up until a couple months ago, I was homeless on the streets, sleeping in a tent, sleeping in abandoned buildings, definitely not getting the help I needed, not knowing where to turn to get help if I wanted it. I came here first to try. So anyway, what I wanted to touch base on is, yes, community collaboration. I agree. It's got to be a community thing as a whole. And as far as a lot of homeless people congregating in the library and things like that, it's close to other resources. That's why. That was the main problem that I found that I had was trying to hang out somewhere or having somewhere to be, get out of the sun. It was hot. I mean, summer was brutal. But actually, it's kind of a funny story because Jeff Warner with, I think he works for LASA. I had no interest in talking to any outreach, but one day I was sitting in an abandoned building, hot, okay, sweating, and he did something as simple as, "You want a bottle of water?" And I was like, yeah, it was hot. I was willing to finally you know what? So hospitality, it does work, but I'm not saying coddle homeless people because that's not going to help either. Okay, so as far as my project is concerned, one of my goals, I talked about it before, was recognizing businesses that treat homeless people really compassionately. So I'm still working on that. Trying to get as much information about as many businesses as possible that I've heard that are actually, they treat people pretty well, or, things like restaurants, things of that nature. I'm sorry, I'm reading notes. Yeah, I guess that's all I had to share. Thanks.
Sarah, let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
You've come a long way in the last few months or whatever. Where are you as far as rebuilding your life?
Okay, I'm starting literally from scratch, literally taking care of myself, making sure I, cleaning up, doing laundry consistently, doing dishes consistently. When you're homeless, you develop really terrible habits. Trash goes wherever because, there's no trash like Pega. There's no, I tried really hard to keep trash contained. I encourage others to do the same. But one of the main things I'm working on now is taking care of myself, making sure my hygiene is kept up. And I'm being honest, making sure my hygiene is kept up, my, duties, and where I'm staying at now, keeping clean, aiding in, trying not to run up all the utilities, all these things I'm considering. I'm also getting in touch with my family. I have a relationship with my son again. Next step is employment. So it's scary. It's definitely a transition. And it took a little time, too. It wasn't like I could just get on the street or get off the street and then overnight, I have a job and, I'm just, productive. It doesn't work that way. It's been slow, and I had some issues I had to work out within myself as well. There's a lot going on. When you're homeless, people don't treat you very well. And it definitely tends to make a person kind of bitter. But I definitely feel like I'm working on that as well. Getting more in touch with people, realizing not everybody's mean, not everybody's out to get us. So I've been working, just slowly transitioning.
Do you have a lead on the employment? Are you working with somebody specific? Or?
Okay, so I've spoke with Toy and Christina. So I'm working actually with them.
Okay.
Well, I need to get back in touch after the holidays. But yeah, employment is definitely much higher on the priority list than it was, because now I feel like I'm ready for it. Proving I could be punctual, show up, be responsible, be accountable, and those things are important. So I'm making them my priority.
Can I just say something really quickly? First, Sarah has proven herself, and I don't know what the right commendation is, but at minimum, I think a salute and an applause is in order. I've had the pleasure of speaking with Sarah as our staff, and Nick talked about collaboration, and I think, and not that you ever want to test the waters, but Sarah allowed us to do that because Sarah showed up as a person in need, and when you sit here and say we are going to help, she held us all accountable. And I appreciate you holding us accountable. Valley Oasis was able to respond. The church, what's the name of it? True Life responded. I hope you felt the city responded.
Oh, yes, I do.
And so I know it works. So I agree with you, Nick. There is greater collaboration to be done. But the beauty of this is that all things were put aside, and Sarah, as a person, became our priority and remains our priority. And we give you that word. I know that, we had the public talk about $15 an hour. You can't buy a house. But what I'd like to say is that it's a step. And we have talked to Sarah. Sarah is very interested in our program. And whether or not we're funded through this program, we now have facilitated conversations with folks who are going to be able to work on employment with Sarah. So I say all that to say it's a process. And while we certainly know lives are at stake, I would just ask all of us to be patient, and at minimum, think of Sarah when we're getting frustrated through the process, and know that the reason we are here is working, and we look forward to it working more. But I'm going to take the moment to celebrate Sarah, and I believe this is a big accomplishment for all of us, and more importantly for Sarah. So thank you, Sarah.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. Thank you. Thanks, you guys.
Oh, Sarah, I remember when I first met you. You've come a long way,
Thank you.
and I'm so proud of you.
Oh my gosh, thank you so
And
much.
you have, what we do here shows in you.
Thank you.
And that gives me personally more to go forward a lot harder. And how about Joe? What is he doing now?
He's actually in the back.
Oh, there you are. Hi,
Well,
Joe.
stand up, Joe. Say hello. Oh, he's shy.
But what you're doing is great, and God bless you, sweetheart.
Thank you very much. Oh, he does. Thank you. Anything else? Okay. Oh my God.
One of the things, and that's kind of what I wanted Sarah to speak, is that there's a very special component that needs to go and be addressed that you can't put a word on. There's not a program for it, and it's that time period that it takes to re-socialize. So December 27th, we went to the shelter and we made tacos. My family, my friends, and we did karaoke. And I know it sounds crazy, and they looked at me like, you want to do karaoke? They're not going to talk to you. Well, because I've been there a few times, I've developed a rapport with the people there. Shannon, he went with us. He said, Teresa, you're going to have to bring some people because it's just going to be us, and you're going to have to sing. And I'm like, oh, gosh, please don't let me have to sing. But you would be surprised. There was one person there that they said he hadn't spoken in like 2 months, and he got up and sang. But it's just those little tiny re-socialization things, inviting people back to being a person again. You lose a sense of identity. You lose your sense of, entertainment. So I would encourage the public to go or their groups. I'm not saying inundate the shelter, but talking to people, talking to them, those little things help. When you're talking to someone, it's just getting them into conversations, and that helps on transition period that Sarah was talking about. And when you're getting back into being a person again, learning how to engage someone in a conversation, learning how to have those skills to be able to address somebody, because it takes a good year or so from living from that lifestyle to be able to go into employment. So people say, oh, well, we gave them a job. I don't know why they didn't succeed. Well, you go from living this life on the street to where you're surviving day to day to now you're in a home with all these responsibilities and pressures. It's very easy to go back to this life on the street because that's what you know and you're comfortable with. So it's a very hard transition process if you're not familiar with, what they're going through and the struggles that they face daily. So I would encourage you to talk with somebody that's maybe experiencing that. Because that helps in that. So, our next speaker card is Ron Kagan, and he would like to talk about the restrooms and trash.
Good morning. One of the things that I noticed, I was visiting a friend who has an office on the boulevard, and he had a call from a client, so I said, well, we're going to go to lunch. I'm just going to walk down the boulevard and go to the deli and grab a bite to eat. Well, unfortunately, I'm getting old, and, old guys sometimes have to go wee-wee. And I was walking down the boulevard, and one of the things that I noticed was every business had a sign on the door, restrooms for customers only. And what it did is I finally got to the restaurant I was going to and took care of business, but it gave me time to think about the folks on the street and the lack of restroom facilities here. I think one of the reasons that people tend to congregate in the library is because they offer a restroom. And one of the things that disturbs me is the lack of dignity that some of our brothers and sisters endure by having to use a bush for a restroom. During the day, they can go to the library. I don't know what they do when the library closes. I don't know where they go. One of the things that's mentioned quite often when I read the newspaper and I talk to folks about the homeless population is the trash. One of the concerns that the city of Lancaster had was the trash under the plane on a stick. And I believe there's some discussion or there was a decision made not to allow feeding of the homeless because of that trash. I have fed the homeless numerous times at that location. There are not enough trash cans, number one. people have said, I have somebody who works with the homeless in Little Rock, and they said, well, what we did is we put a big trash receptacle for the homeless, but it got filled up with trash because people would take the stuff from their houses, their sofas and whatever, and threw it in there. My response to that was, well, that's really not a complaint, better there than the desert. But it leads me to think that we're not providing those two services to that population. And the first is restroom facilities and a place to wash your hands, because one of the biggest things in our homeless population, as I'm sure everybody's aware of, is hepatitis A. And that's spread by mouth, not by touch. So it's very, very important that we can wash our hands after we use the restroom. And if we put up porta potties, it would be nice to have a wash facility right there. Thank you for your time, and I hope that you folks give that some thought.
All right, thank you, Ron. Is it Terry Watts? And Terry Watts would like to speak on, she's greatly concerned and eager to know about the public job opportunities.
Yes, I'm Terry Watts. I am concerned. Mainly, I've been trying to volunteer. I might not be looking in the right place, but there's plenty of citizens that want to help. But I think they're getting exhausted of hitting corners, you know? So anyway, there's plenty of help. I like the idea. I'm seeing, you know, the Kingston campus being built. It looks beautiful. It's a great idea. My concern is it really comes down to numbers. And like you were saying, you know, how long are the residents going to be able to stay? So, you know, the drug and alcohol treatment for me is number one, you know, and giving them an opportunity. But, you know, everyone needs to take accountability. And it sounds like Sarah, she's a breath of fresh air because she's you know, a success story. But, you know, there's so many here. It's changed. And I work on Sierra Highway, and I see more and more, and I'm like, where are they coming from? And they're coming here, but they're going to die because it's too cold or too hot. So I'm so happy to hear this, but realistically, even with the classes at AVC, there's only so many students that they can take. So how are you going to pick and choose the students that are going to, you know, go through the hospitality course? Because I know as a student that there's only so many that they can take. But what about the leftover? You know, that they have to maintain. It is a lot of work, and it's situational. Everyone's coming from different backgrounds. Some could be drug and alcohol. Some could be, you know, mental illness. Some could be domestic violence. I mean, the list goes on, and it's really hard to touch base on each individual. So, I mean, it's going to take a lot of work. My thing is I'm asking, please, to open up the doors. It could be job fair and have more than one job fair and fill that job fair with volunteers like me and put it in the media and make it look friendly and community built, because there's plenty of people, but it's got to take a little bit more friendly. I get it. People that are working 9 to 5, maybe they're not the ones that have the energy to put into that. But there are people that do have that energy. Just allow them. One more question. How do people get job experience for these jobs that might be opening at Kingston's campus? I'm very, very interested. But how do I get that training? It could be a course. I'd like more information about that, and give some people some opportunity and some time, because the jobs are going to be coming up. Anyway, I know my time's up. So that was it. And to bounce on your question, that's awesome. I have an idea for the summer to give water. Obviously, it's very hot. And that can be an alternative, people hanging out on the boulevard and trash bins, and maybe a bathroom would be ideal as well for that small little project I have in mind. And I'll need volunteers for that too. But maybe some sort of, I'm just saying the websites, you guys, are not friendly. And then when I put in an email, I'm not getting emails back on how I can volunteer. I want to volunteer. And I know there's other outsources. I know they're all here, but I agree. I think teamwork effort is the only way that the whole community is going to succeed.
I think if you get with Nick, he can help you how to volunteer with Valley Oasis.
Thank you so much.
Are there any other cards before we close public comments? Okay, do any board comments?
I do have one comment. The Antelope Valley Justice Sunday Committee would like to invite out the public this Sunday at 4 p.m. at the Lancaster Performing Arts Center to experience a play that's being put on by our youth. What's interesting about how this play comes about is that we've been working with our youth, and so not only do the youth perform the play, but the youth also collaborate to write the play. It's going to be a play in acknowledgement, let's say it that way, of Martin Luther King. It's not a play about Martin Luther King, but it is a play that is historically significant. These kids have worked tirelessly for the last 2 months or so. So we want to make sure that we invite the community out to come and enjoy what the kids have done. It includes all of the Antelope Valley High School District and some of the middle schools. So come on out, join our youth, celebrate them. It's free to the public, so there's no cost. Seating is limited, so first come, first serve. And the name of the play this year is Epiphany. Looking forward to seeing you guys all there.
It is a wonderful event. If you've never been, we try to go every year. So do you have anything, the city?
The only comment that I have is Kensington is obviously a big topic these days. I think for anyone who has driven along Avenue I, basically 32nd Street West, adjacent to the Pete Knight Veterans Home there, you will see Kensington being built. We are super, super excited about it. We do believe that this is the city of Lancaster's one of the larger puzzle pieces to responding to the homelessness crisis. I share that because at the next meeting, February 21st, it will be all about Kensington. And so for those who are interested in learning about Kensington, or if you want to share the information, please let everyone know that that is the day that Kensington will be presented to the community once again. It will be a collaborative presentation between the city, Insight, the developer, as well as the operator, the people concerned. And the last thing I'll say on Kensington, kind of to Terry's point, is they are going to be looking for volunteers and staff. Right now, for anyone interested, or if you know anyone, excuse me, they have put out the job bulletin for the campus operations director. That is the first position to be filled because that is the position that will oversee and integrate Kensington into the community. So it is available on the city's website as well as the people's concern. Thank you.
I want to thank you for helping us to be able to, for us to be able to make the decisions we have to make up here, and to giving us the knowledge, because there's so much to learn about this situation, and it's not just a panel of people that can handle this. It's like they say, it's a collaborative effort by us and by all of you to come and speak up and say something like you have been, and don't be afraid. But I also wanted to mention that on Sundays at the J. Reynolds Park, we feed the homeless. I work with George. He's Sophia Elizabeth Foundation, and we feed hot meals from about 1:30 to about 3. And there's also, we have kind of like a pantry. You can get fresh vegetables and different salads and stuff that you can take home. There also is a program there that have for your pets, dog food for dogs, for your dogs, and pet food that you can take home. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming. Thank you all for your participation in these meetings, and have a wonderful day. Drive safe. Don't speed.